The Laura Ingraham Show, no. The Monica Crowley Show. She's been a regular guest on a bunch of stuff. She's the author of the New York Times bestseller, What the Hell Just Happened? And a bunch of other stuff. And she joins us now. Good morning, Miss Crowley. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Imus. I'm well, thank you.
She also worked, she served as foreign policy assistant to former President Richard Nixon from 1990 until President Nixon bought the ranch or something in 1994. How was that experience?
Incredible. Literally the best experience of my life. And I've had some pretty good experiences, but that was so incredibly unique. For somebody so young, it was my first job out of college to work with a former president, not just any former president, but arguably one of the most controversial that the country has ever seen. He was brilliant and funny and used to listen to you on occasion. Had a great sense of humor, was very kind and generous, but also was a true visionary. And it's a rare American leader who can see years ahead and make American policy, or at least talk about what American policy should be years down the road, and he was one of them.
Larry Kinney used to be on our show for years and did one of the great impressions ever of Richard Nixon and did it for years. Yeah. On this program, did the president ever hear that?
He did.
Oh,
yeah.
Did, so.
Well, and I told you that I grew up listening to you. So yes. In the early 90s, Nixon and I used to talk about pop culture and what was happening in the world and American culture, and sometimes your name would come up. He appreciated any kind of imitation of him, even the disrespectful ones. He got a good laugh at. So, yeah, he loved it.
Larry Kinney was as good as anybody who's ever done it. Well, at the risk of sounding like an old fool, well, I am an old fool, or sexist, and I don't really mean this in that way. But Nixon did hire attractive women. And this leads to a legitimate question. I mean, he had Diane, so you, he had other people. So why, was there, how was he? Did he always comport himself as a gentleman? Or
Always.
Oh, okay.
Always. Unfailingly a consummate gentleman. Okay. Yeah. And he was a very intelligent man. So he chose beauty and brains. He was no dummy.
But he was a psycho, too, wasn't he?
He was absolutely not. You never met him, right?
Well, no, of course not.
No, you should.
One time I was talking to Elvis. No, I never met him either.
Now, Nixon was, even his detractors concede that he was an incredibly brilliant man. And sometimes got in the way of himself and what he was trying to do.
But he was also a crook.
He was not a crook.
Well, what happened at Watergate and how he lied about all? I mean, hello?
Well, listen, I understand, and I'm not saying this by way of excusing what he did, because he certainly didn't excuse what he did. We had many hours of conversations about Watergate and his role in it before he passed away.
Sure.
And I wrote a couple of books about this as well.
Trying to cash in on your experience, yeah.
I did. Actually, what he said to me before he passed away, because I had these hours of daily conversations with him, I was keeping notes. And I obviously was keeping notes in front of him as we were talking. And one time he said to me, Monica, you should write a book someday. Yeah. And then he tried to back off from me. He goes, no, you're going to have more important things to do. You're going to be on television. You're going to be saving the country, saving the world. You don't need to write a book about me. But then he sort of winked at me. So I kind of knew he was trying to tell me, and I felt it was my responsibility to let the rest of the world know and subsequent generations know the Nixon that I came to know.
So sometimes I think, how do I say this?
Uh-oh. Oh, Lord.
Like you are, I'm not patronizing you, but you are brilliant. And I'm very smart.
Thank you.
Sometimes I think you're too smart to take some of the positions you take, which are these right-wing talking point positions, which are even a reasonable person would agree are idiotic.
Well, wait a minute. The conservative position is the intelligent position.
Well, okay.
On everything. We almost always turn out to be right, whether it's on tax cuts, how to deal with the economy, foreign affairs, national security. Almost always 100% right.
Okay. Well, so let's talk about ISIS then.
Okay.
Bernie was on in a segment called Psychos this morning, saying how preposterous and idiotic it is for the people in this country. The same war criminal bastards like Dick Cheney, who got 6 deferments to keep from having to serve in Vietnam, but didn't mind sending your kid there, about people like that. And the other guy down there in Texas dodging, flying around in jets dodging service. When I was in the jungle, okay, I wasn't in the jungles of Vietnam. Right, well. I was playing the bugle at Camp Pendleton, but the point is...
But you were a Marine.
I made myself available. So they didn't call me. It was just God's will. So, but my point is the same idiots who got us into Iraq, we had no business being in there, and even you agreed with that, now want us to put ground troops on the ground to go into ISIS when it's not, I mean, it may eventually be, but it's certainly not our problem now.
Well, first of all, I disagree with your characterization of me as being against the Iraq war now. No, I think it was executed poorly over the course of time that we were there. But I agreed with going in, and I still think it was the right decision, but it was carried out badly. Look, Don, here's the thing. You can, and so many people in the West do what you just did, which is focus on the personalities, Bush and Cheney and Obama and everything else. The bigger point here is that we are in a world war. This is World War III, whether we want to see it or not. And the point is, and this is the lesson of history, you fight the war now while you still have some advantages, or you're going to have to fight it later when you lose those advantages. This is what Iran seeking a nuclear weapon is all about. Once they get the bomb, then all bets are off and you lose the advantage. You're in the war whether you want to see it or not. You might think that the war is over there. It's here. Did you hear the FBI director yesterday? That they're pursuing ISIS cells in all 50 states. And it's certainly right here. They could put something up your butt here, momentarily down the street here in New York City. So you're in the war whether you want to see it or not. You might not want to deal with it. You might want to say, oh, we can control it because it's over there. None of that is true. What the guys in ISIS constantly say is, we are literalists. We are carrying out the jihad according to Quranic commands, what Muhammad told us to do. That's the war you're in. And again, you better fight it now while you still have an advantage.
I didn't appreciate you attacking me for focusing on the personalities, because the reason I focus on the personalities is because I don't understand the complexities of the issues. And so
but the personalities are a distraction from the real war that we're fighting here.
They're not.
Or need to fight.
They're a wonderful aid for someone like me who can't debate an issue on the merits of the issue itself. So then you resort to name calling, which I do, and to criticizing people as war criminals,
which
incidentally they were.
Bad. Sorry.
By the way, Tammy Faye Baker called. She wants her hair back.
Oh, man.
It's 14 to leave.
I'm looking
No, you look
really
great.
good.
Terrific. You look great.
Thank you, Connell.
I want to overpraise you.
Once again, attacking the personality.
Yes, that was my point.
And the hair.
14 to leave. All right, now in your personal life.
Oh, here we go.
What's the matter?
Go ahead.
You were supposed to marry Dave. When was this? Not his name.
We are going to use his pseudonym, Dave. Yeah. Yeah, everything is fine. I keep telling you we're working on it.
Okay.
I'm happy. I'm in a great relationship. He's my best friend. He's a kind, decent, wonderful man. There is no problem.
Okay.
Can we go back to ISIS? Because that, to me, is an easier topic.
When were you supposed to get married? How long?
Well, we've never set a date. But we've been together forever. I mean, we're totally committed. We've been together 10 years.
Fine, he has to make no commitment because he's a spineless weasel.
Stop
and
it.
He's
we
unwilling.
have a commitment. We're totally committed to each other. Plus, you're all up in my business. Every time I come on the show, you're up in my business.
No. How long have you been?
You're up in my grill every time I'm here.
How long? Well, you don't answer the questions. You're not.
Okay, but this is radio.
We're going to have you on whether you answer them or not.
So if I give you silence, then you have crickets on the air, and that's not good.
You could just say, go to hell, you old fool. Don't ask me these questions. That's fine.
All right.
But my question is, how long have you been engaged?
Go to hell, you old fool. It's none of your business.
Yeah, right, Monica.
Monica, go ahead.